Hi there, I'm Michelle the Painter, and this is Paint and Sip at Home. Alright, so today I'm going to be painting cute baby ducks and I'm sipping on some cherry tea. And if you enjoy this process, I do hope that you like and subscribe to my channel and that you also check out my Patreon page where you'll find additional painting perks such as this one. So today I painted these ducks based on a photograph that one of my Patreon members by the name of Catherine Nichols sent in. I have a benefit from my Patreon members whereby they get to every now and again send in their photos, and I'll select some of them to turn into YouTube video tutorials. And as a thank you, I will send this original painting to Catherine. So I hope she enjoys it. So if you are interested in learning how you too could submit your photos or learn more about the Patreon membership program, I do have all of that information down below in the video description. So let's get painting and let's get sipping. Alright, so for my materials today, I'm going to be using a stretched and primed 16 by 20 inch canvas. If you're painting along, you could certainly switch up the size, but that's what I'll be using. I'm using acrylic paint today. My colors are titanium white, green oxide, chrome yellow, burnt umber, which I like to call brown, Mars black, fire red, and cobalt blue. And of course you can switch up those colors if you'd like. For my material or my tools today, I'm going to be using a white piece of chalk for some drawing, and then I have 3 brushes from my personal brush line, which is Michelle the Painter brushes. I have a 3/4 inch wide flat bristle brush. I have a 1/4 inch wide flat bristle brush, and I have a number 2 round synthetic brush, and I will just call them out as I use them. And of course you can switch those up as well. If you're painting along with me, you're probably going to want to have a cup of water for washing your brushes, as well as a paper towel for drying your brushes. And down below this video, in the video description, I will be providing you with a few additional resources that can help you through your painting process. One of them is a link to my shop where you could purchase the same exact paint kit that I'm using from the same size and type of canvas to the same types of paints and brushes and all the good stuff in between. You can also purchase in my shop things individually, like my brushes. So that's there. There's also a link where you can download a free image of the final painting. So you can print that and use it as visual reference as you go through the painting process. And there's also written step-by-step instructions down there for you as well. And that's all we're going to need today. Alright, so what we're going to do for the first step is we're going to be painting a base coat onto the canvas. I'm going to be using my large bristle brush, and the color I'm using is my green oxide. So I'm going to just do a flat coat of my green oxide in order to start this entire painting. This particular color will show a little bit of streakiness on this first layer. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to be going back and forth, left to right. On the edges, I tend to go up and down so I can hit those edges because I tend to miss them when I'm doing a solid coat. But you can certainly apply this first layer on in whatever direction that you want, because we are going to be doing a second coat on, well, not a second coat of flat green, but we're going to be doing an additional coat to the water, which will get rid of any streakiness that might occur during this initial layer of the background. So I'm just taking my paint and just going back and forth, giving myself just a thin kind of coverage to the background. I don't need to do anything fancy. I don't need to make sure that it's got perfect coverage because, again, we're going to be doing another layer on it, which will allow us to get rid of any of that streakiness or kind of unfinished look to it. And once I have it all on here, what I like to do is just kind of take my brush, because this is still on the wet side. So I'll take my brush and just do these nice long continual strokes. This will help to smooth it out a little bit. I don't need it to be super smooth, but it will help to just give me a more kind of level playing field and help me to hit any spots that I may have totally missed, like those couple of spots in through there. And then we're going to be using this same brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can wash and dry this large brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint the water. I do recommend before you start this step that your canvas is dry because it'll be easier to do this step with a dry canvas. I'm going to be using my large bristle brush in order to paint, but I'm just going to use my small round in order to demonstrate how to pre-mix a couple of custom colors. The colors I'm going to be using for this step are green, yellow, white, black, and blue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 shades of green, a dark green, a light green, and also a light blue. So what we'll be doing is adding some very minimal kind of reflections of what I think is kind of the sky up at the top of the water, and then the water gets a little bit more like light and soft in the middle, and then down towards the bottom we're going to add some darkness to the water. We will be adding reflections of the ducks as well as all kinds of little floating debris and stuff. We'll add all of that stuff later. Right now we're just trying to get the water on. So I'm going to demonstrate how I got to a couple of custom colors, which I already have on my palette prepared so you can see where I'm headed. The first one is right here, which is a light blue. How I got to that is just a little bit of my cobalt blue and some white. So I'm not looking for anything really complicated here, just a light blue color that will represent the sky to me. and as I'm doing this, I'm just going for a nice light blue color. You could certainly go with any shade that you want, but I am using a photo reference, and in this reference it appears that it's a nice light blue color that is just delicately kissing the water in an out of focus kind of way. So then the other 2 colors I'm going for, here's a dark green. How I got to this is my green oxide with just a touch of black. The black will easily take over and make it black if you're not careful. So just add a dot at a time and you can see the color variation from this one to this one. It will get a little bit darker as it dries, so just prepare for that as you're mixing it. Just know it'll go a little bit darker as it dries. So that's going to be that one. And then the next one that I'm going to go for is this light green over here. How I got to this is green, yellow, and white. So I would say more green than anything. So green, a little bit of yellow. If I didn't add the yellow, the type of green that I have, if I just added green and white, it would be too soft of a dull green. So the yellow is going to keep it nice and almost like a lime green type of a color, and then a little bit of white, and then just spin those together. I might have added too much white to that, which I did. So we're going to put more color in it. I picked up a little bit too much white, so I'm going to add back some green and some yellow, and hopefully this little section will get to the tone that I was looking for. There we go. That's much better. So this is the shade of green that I'm going for. Think of it kind of like a lime green, maybe a little bit more on the earthy tone than limes actually are, but somewhere in this vicinity, this will be my light green. So once I've got my custom colors, now it's time to paint. So I've got my large bristle brush. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start up at the top with a little bit of my green oxide. So I'm going to use my green oxide up at the top just to make sure that I've got a pretty good coverage. I'm just kind of going over some of these areas, well, a lot of these areas with my green oxide just to make sure that I have a good second coat. I'm going to use my green oxide throughout this step to help blend these custom colors that I've made. So I brought that down about, I would say, a quarter of the way. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of my light blue on my dirty brush, and I'm just going to kind of get it to blend in with this green oxide. And this is going to give me that a little bit of appearance of the sun or the sky just kind of shimmering off the water. I don't need to do a whole lot of it, and I am kind of just blending it out so it looks like it's just a little accent to that water. As I come down in through here, I think I might want maybe a little bit more of the blue in through here. Now I'm going to start picking up a little bit, going back to my green oxide to kind of bring we'll call it our mid-tone down a little bit further on these sides like this. And then as I creep towards this middle area and through here, I'm going to start picking up that light green color. So this is going to be that light green. And I am just kind of going back and forth, giving myself this crisscross type of brush stroke. I feel like this might be a little bit too yellow for what I want. So I'm going to actually pick up a touch of my light blue as well, and that'll just kind of give me a little bit softer of a look in through there. You could, I know it'll dry a little bit darker as well, so I'm just going to pick up my light green, maybe with a touch of white to just soften it just a little bit. And you can certainly modify these tones as you're going through it. If you feel that they're too light or too dark, I just picked up more of my green oxide to get this to kind of blend out over here. In through here, I'm going to use a little bit of that light green. I think I'm going to use a little bit of the light green plus a little bit of the light blue as I'm coming down in through here, because I'm digging how that light blue is kind of reacting with the light green. It's giving it a real nice soft tone to it. So we're just going to play with that, because if you like something, just keep doing it. And it looks like there's some good lightness in this center area. So again, light blue plus a little bit of light green. I'm bringing this right down to about the center of my canvas. Once I get in this vicinity, it appears to get darker as it goes down. So what I'm going to do now that I've got this light area in through here, I'm going to just, oops, that was the light green. I meant to pick up my green oxide just to kind of transition over to this left side, make sure I've got a good second coat over and through here. And I am using kind of a light brush stroke, which means I'm not pressing very hard on the canvas to allow myself to kind of get these colors to blend as I go. This, for me, is a good technique for blending purposes. As I'm coming down here, I'm going to pick up my green oxide, but in a minute I'm going to start transitioning into that dark green. But I didn't want to go straight from the light to the dark, so I just wanted to kind of have a little bit of a gradient or transition. My ducks are going to be in through here, so I don't need to do a ton of work in through there, but I do want to make sure that I've got a good contrast behind those ducks. So I'm going to now start picking up my dark green, because I know that it's going to be, I'm going to have some dark green down in this vicinity, down in through here. So just getting that on there. Again, I know that there's going to be my ducks in through here, so I'm going to put a little bit of dark green kind of coming up in through here. So this is behind that duck. As we get it on there, we're going to have some good contrast. I think I'm going to put a little bit of the dark green up back here too. So again, the duck's head is going to be up and through here, and that dark green behind the duck's head is going to allow the duck's head to pop out. So these are just little tricks. I'm seeing it in the photo reference, and I know that it's going to benefit us when we go to put those little ducks on. So that's going to be good. And again, because I know that I've got two big duck heads coming, I don't need bodies, I don't need these areas to be perfect. But I still want them to be executed in a fully rendered way, but I know I've got stuff going on top of them, so the fine-tuned detail is not really necessary at this point. So just kind of making sure that I have a good second coat. So when I do put that object on top of it, the colors that are being laid in with that object on top will be consistent. Like, we won't have a break in them if I've missed a spot of painting. So even though I know I'm putting another object on top of this, I still want to pay enough attention to it with at least a second layer. Even if, again, it's not perfect, I'm okay with that. So as I get down towards this bottom, I'm going to just keep picking up some of that dark green. And if you feel that your dark green is going too dark, you can always add a little bit of your green oxide back to it. I do feel in this section over here in the photo reference, it's a little bit lighter. So I'm actually going to pick up on my dirty brush some of that light green. So this will give me just a little bit different tone down in this bottom left-hand corner. And then once you've got this done, we are going to be using our drawing utensil for the next step. So you can put this large brush away, make any little fiddling adjustments you feel are necessary. Like I feel like I want some more of this blue up in through here. I think it's super cool. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more in through there. And then we'll use this same brush, or excuse me, we'll use our drawing utensil for the next step. So you can put this big brush away, take out something to draw with, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're gonna do for the next step is we're gonna be drawing an outline for our ducks. I'm using my chalk. You could certainly use any drawing utensil that's comfortable to you. Again, I recommend that your canvas is dry before you start this step. So I'm gonna guide you through a series of markers. We'll be connecting those markers in order to make some very basic shapes that we'll be able to utilize during the painting process. I don't go for any fine-tuned detail in these initial drawings, just something that's going to allow us to place the ducks where we want them to be and to give them kind of a representational shape that will work. So what I would do, or what I'm going to do, is find myself the center of my canvas, top to bottom, left to right. For me, that's somewhere about here. I give you this marker so we can kind of just kind of build off of that center and always have a place to go back to keep us in check as to where we are located on the canvas. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down, straight down to the bottom of my canvas, so the center of the bottom. I'm going to come over to the left, I would say about an inch and a half maybe, and then up about 2.5 inches. Somewhere in this vicinity is going to be my first marker. Well, other than the center, that's just a guide. So then this is part of the drawing. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to the left-hand side of my canvas, about the same height as that dot there, and then I'm going to drop it down about an inch, somewhere right about in through here. I'm going to connect these two markers with a very gentle curved line. So I'm going to take from here and then connect here to here with just a slight curve, nothing major. This is going to be the bottom of the left duck. I'm going to do the same process for the bottom of the right duck. So if I find myself the halfway point coming straight down from here, I'm going to go almost halfway between that and the edge of my canvas down here. So a quarter of the way, I would say, is about here. I'm a little to the left of that and then up about an inch higher than this one. So this is, my marker is going to be somewhere in this vicinity. So this is about almost an inch higher than this, and it's probably, I would say, if 5 or 4 inches was the halfway point, I might be at about the 5-inch mark. And then I'm going to come over to the right at about the same height, and I'm going to go up just a touch, a little tiny touch, and then I'm going to connect these two with just a little bit of an arcing line. Again, not too prominent. And then what I'm going to do on the left-hand side of my canvas is I'm going to find myself about the halfway point, give myself a marker. I'm going to connect here to here with a curved line. This is going to represent the back of the duck, and then this is going to represent the chest. So I'm going to curve it pretty good here, and then it's going to almost just kind of glide into the other one. So I'm going to go almost straight up from here like this, and then curve it, and then bring it over to meet that. I'm going to do the same thing over here, but this duck is in a different position. This duck is going to be looking more towards the viewer. So I'm going to find myself up on the right corner of my canvas. If just bring you back to the halfway mark, if this is halfway and this is a quarter way, I'm about an inch below that. So somewhere in this vicinity is where that marker is. I'm going to connect here to here, but this time I'm going to bubble it out and go up. So I'm going to take it from here, I'm going to bubble it out and go all the way up and meet my marker in through there. Now I'm going to make the heads. They're just going to be a circular type of object. I'm going to come from here, I'm going to go in about an inch, make myself a marker. And then where this curves in through here, I'm going to make another marker like this. And then I'm going to come to about here, I would say right about somewhere in through here, and I'm going to go about halfway between here and the top of my canvas. So somewhere in through here is where I'm making this marker. This marker, if you in relationship to over here, is a little bit lower than that marker. So just so you have an idea of where that is. Now I'm going to connect these with a circular type of shape like this, and that's all I'm going to do for that one. The next one, again, we're seeing this at a little bit different of an angle, so this head is going to be a little bit different, but I'm going to come down from this again almost about an inch, somewhere in through there, and then the corresponding, or the other side of it, is going to be somewhere in here. So I would say from this corner, if you go straight up from this corner, it's a little bit to the right of that. Then I'm going to find myself the center point between these two and go about halfway between here and the top of my canvas. So somewhere in through here. So I'm probably about 3 inches away from the top of my canvas. So when I connect these, it's going to be more, it's going to be an oval type of a shape, but it's going to be kind of a little bit flatter at the top. So I'm going to come up from here and I'm going to just kind of round this like this, and I'm kind of going more flat up in through there. And then as I come down this side, I'm going to just kind of bring it out like this and connect it in through here. I am going to do something a little bit different on here because I want to, the shape of the head, the eyeball kind of pops out a little bit. So I just gave you kind of a straight line or a semi-straight line in through here to guide us. But right now I'm going to kind of dip it a little bit. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to start here. I'm going to bring it in, out, like that. And then I'm going to take my small paintbrush with a little bit of water on it, and I'm going to erase this line and this line. So what I did was I just gave us a little bump out where our eyeball is going to go, and we'll be making that look more like an eyeball later. For right now, we just have a little bump to work with. We'll make that look better later. Now I need to put a duck bill on this little guy here, because again, we're seeing this one from the side. So I'm going to come right where this intersection point is and come down just a little bit, somewhere in through here. And I'm going to come up from this intersection, maybe about 1.5 inches, somewhere in through here. And from here, I'm going to go out about, I would say, almost 2 inches. I'm not quite at my halfway point, so my halfway is out here. So I'm a little bit shy of that. I'm going to connect here. I'm going to just bring it in this little cute little round way, and then down here I'm going to just bubble it a little bit like that. And that is all I'm going to be doing for my outline. I'm going to be using my large brush for the next step. You can certainly erase this little marker in through there and put your drawing utensil away and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're painting the base coat for our ducks. I'm using my large bristle brush to paint, but I'm going to use my small number 2 round just to premix myself, or to demonstrate how to premix the special color I'm going to be using. I'm going to be premixing myself a warm gray color, so I will be using black, brown, and white, and I have premixed my color right here so you can see where I'm headed. You could go straight gray if you wanted to, but I do like to use neutral tones a lot of times. So for me, creating a warm gray with some brown brings it into a more pleasing and neutral visual place for my painterly eye to enjoy. So I've got this color in through here. How I got to this is a lot of brown, a little bit of black, and a little bit of white. And I'm going, oops, dropped it there. And I'm going for a mid-tone gray, so not too dark, not too light, somewhere right in the middle of the tonal value scale. I need a little bit more white for that. That was a little bit too dark. And then once you've got the color that you're shooting for, you don't have to get it exactly the same tone as mine. Yours could be lighter or darker or more brown or more gray, again, wherever you'd like to shoot for. I'm using this as just the dominant base tone for my birds. We've got a lot of work to go on the birds, so if your gray doesn't turn out perfect, no worries. You can certainly adjust it as we go through the painting process. So that looks pretty good to me. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my large bristle brush and I'm going to paint my ducks. So I don't need to do anything fancy here. I am going to be having a lot. I don't even need this line where the head meets or where we made those two shapes, because the head is going to be overlapping that by the time I'm done. The only areas where I kind of don't want to lose, I would say, my outline is in these smaller areas, like the beak on this one and maybe that eye on that one. I want to just maintain the shape of that so I don't lose where where I wanted it to be. I have a tendency to, if my outline disappears, I have a tendency to make that object bigger than I had intended. So I just become quite cautious of that as I go through the painting process. And sometimes, or a lot of times, I will leave a little bit of my guideline visible. That helps to keep me coloring within the lines. And we're going to be adding a whole bunch of little fluffy feathers and stuff along the exterior of the ducks, but right now I'm not terribly concerned about that aspect of it. But if you're going along these exterior edges and you feel like you're wanting to kind of pull some of that stuff out now, you certainly could. But I've definitely planned for that in the painting process, so you don't necessarily have to worry about it at this time. And on this front edge, just kind of bringing this out, and your duck might grow a little bit like mine just did, but that's okay. That's why I like to keep those lines visible, because if they disappear, I make them bigger than they should be. And then I'm going to go over here. I'll take my time on this little part by the eye, just making sure I kind of give it that little bump out. And again, we've got so much to go on this, so don't worry. Even if you did, bump into it too much and made it a little bit different of a shape than you had wanted, it's all right. We'll fix it later. And then I'm just gonna paint in this whole area. Using a base coat like a gray, the gray is very good at covering other colors. So if you have trouble with covering that underneath layer, a lot of times what I'll do is I will go for a grayish tone or something that has good opacity to help me cover that layer or that color underneath. I do like to paint objects on top of other things, so that way, like, I could finish that water before I do the ducks, and then I never have to go back to the water. I don't have to paint around my ducks later to finish that water. And that's just a process that really works well for me. And by doing so, sometimes I have to work a little bit harder at covering those colors underneath, especially since I use a student grade paint, which doesn't always have the best coverage. But this is looking pretty good. So I am going to be using, I'm going to use my small brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can put this large brush away, the small round brush that is. Put this brush away, take out your small round, and get ready for the next step. Alright, so what I'm going to be doing for the next step is I'm painting the base coat for my facial features. I'm using my number 2 round brush. The colors I'm going to use are brown and black. I'm also in this step going to just kind of outline where I want those heads to go, so that way we can work our way around them during this planning process of the facial features. So I'm going to start with a little bit of brown paint on my brush. I'm going to first start on the left duck, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to be outlining kind of where I want that head to go, so where the beak kind of intermingles with the side of the face and down in this vicinity here. And then we'll do the same thing for the, actually I think I'm probably going to do the entire left duck, and then we'll move over to the right duck. So I've got brown paint on my brush because the this duck's going to be a little bit more difficult. So we'll get warmed up on this one. So I've got brown paint on my brush, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of underline my beak in through here. I want it to meet this area right up in through here. So I'm going to kind of come up in an upward direction like this. I'm just using real sketcherly line, so this way I can just use this as a kind of a jumping off point for getting all of those facial features in place. So that's where I'm going to start with that, just so I can have that place to start. I need a place to start. That's where it's going to be. So now what I'm going to do is I still have a little bit of brown on my brush. I'm going to put the kind of front part of the beak as well as the smiley part of the beak on. So I'm going to come into the beak up here just maybe about almost an inch. I'm going to curve this like this, and then I'm going to just bring this cute little, it almost looks a little smiley to me, so I'm going to emulate it that way. It's going to come back here, and then I'm going to paint in this entire little section with brown paint. I'm going to use a little bit of water on my brush, so I don't need it to be a real heavy coat. I just want something that's going to be really neutral. I'm going to be adding some pink-ish type of tones on top of this later, so this will give me a nice base for it. I think I'm going to just make this little bottom part a little bit more, we've got a bump here and then just kind of a little dip in through there, so that top part of the beak has a place to open, I guess. So that looks pretty good. Now I don't really need to do anything else with the brown, so I'm gonna pick up a little bit of black plus water on my brush. I didn't wash my brush. I'm gonna map out where I want the rest of the beak to go. So the top of the beak is black, but there'll be some very bright highlights on it in a little bit. But I'm gonna just bring it in from this corner like this. It's going to come into the face from this little meeting point in through here, and I'm going to bring it back in this kind of diagonal way. I don't want this to go much farther out than here, so just kind of plan for that to be in a pretty similar spot. And then as I kind of connect here to here, I'm just using a really, again, sketcherly type of line, so I don't have too solid of a brush stroke in through there. And I'm going to bring this and curve it up over what will be the eye. So this is, again, just kind of separating out where we're going to have certain things on the face. I'm going to color this entire section with black paint. So I just loaded my brush with black paint. I used my non-watered down black paint to color this part in. Again, we're still in pretty much those infant kind of stages of this. When we start putting on details and stuff like that, that'll be when we can get a little bit more, I would say, detail oriented and more finessed with our brush stroke. But right now I'm just kind of loosely getting this on. You can see what I'm doing right here where it's gonna meet those feathers. I just gave it a little bit of a feathery look, and then in through here I can just color it in with a solid color. This, again, part of this is gonna end up looking white by the time we're done, but for me, it makes my building process easier if I can say, okay, well, here's this piece. What's the base color of that? And then I can start building my highlights and my shadows and my details on top of that, as opposed to doing one little section of color for each thing. It's just, again, an easier process for me. I'm going to put my eye right in this vicinity in through here. So the corner of the eye, I'm going to have a little bit lower than here, a little bit lower than here, and then in maybe about an inch, somewhere in that vicinity. I'm going to give myself almost like a teardrop type of a shape for this eye, something like that, whereby this bottom left part goes a little bit lower than that corner in through there. And then I'm just going to paint it in with black. Ooh, that was a lot of black paint. That was a heavy load of paint on my brush. And then once I've got this on here, I'm going to do just a little a little sketchily thought of where there's a big black colored feathered part coming out behind this eye. So I'm just going to kind of put just a little hint of it right now, just so I have my jumping off point. That's good for that one. So I'm going to do the same process over on the right one. I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to start with just brown. So on this one, the duck is, and a little bit of water on my brush, the duck is more facing forward to us, whereas this one we saw the profile of the bill. This one is in here somewhere, so we've got to get it in place. So what I'm going to do from this little corner here is I'm going to continue this corner down just about 1/4 of an inch into the head in through there, and then on this right side up in through here, I'm going to bring this down almost in a straight line, but buckle it out just a little bit for, I'll call it the jaw in through here, and then I'm going to bring this up like this. Again, just really sketchily at this point to give myself the idea of where I want it to go. So it's over from here, maybe about 1 inch, 1.5 inches, and then down about 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to put that where I had this brown part here, I'm going to put the brown part on this guy too. So I'm going to just kind of, I just brought this down just a little bit. I'm going to do this curved line in through here, and then I'm going to color, I'm going to make this almost like an oval type of a shape from here. You can kind of bump it. It looks like it's got a couple of little bumps like that, and then a little bump like that, and then just color this part in with brown. Again, I'm using watered down brown, so you're going to see that gray underneath it. You could use solid or watered down. It doesn't matter. We're just kind of going for something that's going to tell us where this shape is. I do have this light area at the bottom of the bill over here, so there's got to be some kind of corresponding light area on the other one. So I'm just going to take it from, I would say, right about in through here, and just kind of give myself a little light area, or a little brown area, I should say, coming back in this direction in through here. Then I need to kind of section out where that black is, so I'm going to just load my brush with some watered down black paint, and we're going to get that corresponding bill part. So it's going to come up from here, from this little corner in through here, and it's also going to come up from this, we'll call this the little corner in through here. This is kind of a floating area, so I'm going to guide you through it to so you can hopefully get it in the right spot. But if you kind of bring this this little mark up in a kind of curved line like this, think of it as it's going to eventually kind of, well, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to just give you a line to, I picked up a little bit of watered down gray. From this corner in through here, if you just give it like this curve, like that, that'll help you to kind of understand where the side of the face is, where the bridge of the duck nose bill is. And then I'm going to just take it from here, give myself a curve, and I can extend this curve all the way up in through here. So this is going to, again, kind of tell me that's the forehead area. Now I'm going to pick up more of that watered down black, and somewhere in this vicinity I'm going to make this little V like this. It's going to be smaller on the left side than it is on the right side, and this will come something like that. And then I can color this whole section in with black. So we've sectioned off this bill in through here. And again, yours doesn't have to be exactly the same as mine, but if you leave if the right side of that is a little bit bigger, it's going to allow for the illusion of that duck to have its head towards the side, and but it's still kind of looking at the viewer a little bit. I think this needs to kind of connect a little bit more in through there, and of course there's going to be lots of highlights and shadows and all that good stuff. So we need to do 2 eyes on this one. We have the bump for this one over here. So I'm just using my black. So I've already got where it's going to start in through here. I'm going to disconnect it from this little line I just did, and then just bring it right down kind of into that dip that we already made from that outline, and then just bring this into here. So this is just a little sliver of this eye over in through here, something like that. And if it's, you know, we'll make it much better on the when we put the details. The other one is up a little bit, so the duck's head is kind of tipped, I guess. So if I go from here and travel over to here, I've got this eye right in this vicinity. So the top of it is a little bit higher than here. So if I go up a little bit and in, almost halfway between here and there, well, somewhere in through here is going to be the top little corner of it, and the bottom corner is going to be somewhere in through here. So this is a little bit higher than this one, and it's, you know, a little bit up from here and over. And then I can connect here to here like that, and then we'll connect this corner up here in a kind of a pretty big bubble down that right side. So again, it's a little bit different shaped than this eye over here. We're seeing these eyes at different angles, so it's fun when you're doing something like this. You're painting the same type of animal, but based on the angle that they're at, you can be seeing something in such a different way, in a different skewed way. So it's fun to just kind of watch those things and learn how to see it differently and explore all those different angles and how things can be adjusted. So once you've got this done, we're going to be using this same small brush for the next step, so you can just wash it and dry it and get ready. All right, so what we're gonna do for the next step is we're gonna finish our facial features. I'm using my number 2 round brush. The colors that I'm gonna use are my gray, white, red, brown, yellow, and if I need to use any black, I will, and I'll let you know, but I'm not sure on the black yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be adding some color into the eyes, and then we'll do a little sparkle in them. We're going to add some pinkish tone to these front parts of the little bills, and then we'll be adding some bright highlights on top of them to give them their shine, and that might be about it. So shine, skin color, and some details in the eyes. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to make myself my like pinkish tone for the front part of the duck bills. So I've done that on my palette already, which is right here. How I got to this is mostly red, brown, and white, but I did use a little bit of yellow as well because the red, brown, and white can go a little bit, again, too dull, so the yellow helps to keep that richness into that color. So a little bit of red, brown, and white, and just spin it together somewhere in this vicinity. Think of it kind of like a pinkish, a dark pinkish skin tone is what I'm headed for. Somewhere in this vicinity. That looks pretty good to me. So what I'm going to do with this color is I'm going to start building the pink parts on the noses, on the beaks. Sorry, they're not noses. So this is going to be this top part in through here, kind of where it meets the black in through here. And I'm going to add some additional darkness to it and lightness, but I just kind of want to get this really natural kind of tone onto here, just using a little bit of it right now, kind of in almost like a little scrubbing type of motion, just a little thin layer on top of that brown. I'm going to do the same thing on the other one. So just bringing that pinkish tone in through here. So on this bill, this front part and this black part, they merge underneath a white highlight. So don't worry about this part being perfectly executed, because it's going to disappear in a minute when we put a bright highlight on it. So I'm just kind of making sure that I've got this, the evidence of this little bit of a pinkish tone before I start adding all those other kind of details. So that looks pretty good in through there. Now I'm going to pick up a touch of red and brown on this left side, this area right in through here is pretty dark. So I just picked up a little bit more red and brown to get this to go a little bit darker in through here. And just kind of tapping it up so it blends with the other color in through there. Then I'm going to pick up, I just wiped my brush off, I'm going to pick up a little bit of my, that pinkish tone plus white on my brush to give myself just a little bit of a highlight in through here, but not a lot, just a teeny tiny bit in through there. You can even bring it right to that edge and just kind of blending it in. So not a whole heck of a lot, just a little bit to give you that little bit of shine. I'm gonna, underneath here, it appears to kind of be just really muted. I'm gonna start with a little bit of brown on my brush and just kind of give my little details back in through here with a touch of the brown. It's pretty dark back in through here, so I'm just gonna use my brown to get me that darkness. And then it just kind of fades into a lighter, the color underneath here appears to be lighter than this. So I'm gonna, what am I gonna use for that? I'm gonna just pick up a tiny bit of white and brown on my brush. It's pretty light right in through here as well. So this is just white and brown, but I don't need it to go all the way white. So just be careful that it doesn't go all the way white on you. And then I'm gonna pick up that pink plus white to put a little bit of this right underneath here. So just a teeny tiny bit, just to get that lighter tone as I'm seeing in the picture. So that looks good to me there. I'm gonna go ahead and do something similar over on this little pink part, but this one again is designed a little bit differently. So I'm gonna pick up my pink plus a tiny bit of red just to deepen this tone just a little bit. Oh, that's not enough. A little bit more red and maybe just a touch of brown. Deepen this tone just a little bit over on this left-hand side. Maybe more than that. Apparently I'm being too cautious. Sometimes I am more cautious than I should be, but I'd rather be more cautious and have to add more paint than to put too much paint on and be, oh no, what did I just do? So that looks good, just a little bit of darkness there. I'm gonna pick up some brown now to accentuate this little separation between the top part of the bill beak and the bottom part. That looks pretty good. And then there's some of that light color down in through here. So I'm gonna go with my that pink stuff plus a little bit of white, give myself this cute, oh, he's adorable. Put a little, there's a little kind of highlight right in through here. I love, you know, when you start just kind of fiddling with these light tones and dark tones, how quickly they come to life if you just, you know, just watch those color patterns. And that's my MO as I'm going through these pictures. If I want it to look like that photograph, I just have to pay attention to where the color, you could just work in one little section, say, okay, I see a little bit darker here, I see a little bit lighter here, and just adjust those tones accordingly. I'm gonna go back over to this guy here and put the light part on the beak. I'm gonna start with, I'm gonna start with black. No, I'm gonna go into my gray. I'm gonna wash my brush. I'm gonna start with a little bit of gray, and because there's some of these tones that are not gonna go all the way white, but we can start with a little bit of my gray and just kind of put them in place. So that's something like that. There's a little highlight in through here, and I know that I'm safe by using gray first because the gray obviously is gonna be darker than white, but it also helps me kind of build my way to that brightness. There's a bright spot over in through here, so I'm gonna just kind of bring this gray in through here. I might use some blue too. I'm detecting a little bit of a bluish hue on some of this highlighted part, but we'll see if I decide to go into that. But right now, just in my gray, kind of maneuvering it so there's some little brighter tones and darker tones. That looks pretty good. I'm going to do the same thing over on the other side with my gray. This scoots right, almost right below this little dip in through here, and it goes like this, and right over, well, this is interesting, right into here. That this black also is going to go down in through there, which is pretty interesting. I think this goes, I think I got it, something like that. And then we've got this highlight going in through here. Oh, we got a little nostril too. I got to work around, so there's a little nostril in through here. So I'm just gonna make my little nostril by using the gray paint around it, and then this kind of goes like this. So again, I'm starting with this gray in order to kind of build my way to the super bright highlight that I'm going to be needing to apply in a minute. This again is one of those things. It's getting my bearings straight, telling me where the brightest spots are on the beak, and it's allowing me to get it, build my way to it gradually. So I've got a little bit of a highlight in through here as well. This little part of the cheek pops out, and we've got a little bit of lightness in through there. There is a tiny bit, I'm going gray plus a little bit of black on my brush right now. There's a little highlight over on the left side of the beak too, which corresponds with the nostril. So I have gray plus a little bit of black on my brush just to kind of give myself a little of those highlighted parts. That looks pretty good. I'm coming back over here. We can't really see the nostril. I'm thinking that the nostril is probably this little area in through here, but it's not super evident, so I'm not gonna fuss over it. I'm picking up some white paint, and I'm going super bright white right on this nose in through here. There's a little bright spot in through here. There's bright white in through here. And it's really almost out of focus, blurry, bright on this edge of the nose or beak. I'm going to keep calling it a nose, so I hope you're okay with that. So I might end up fuzzing that out with a little bit of blue or something to get it to look like maybe there's a couple of wet drops or something on there. But I'm going to just kind of, there's a couple of little polka dots in through there, little bright spots in through here. That's looking pretty good. I'm digging that. I'm going to go and do the same thing over on the right side with a little bit of white paint. And we've got super white right in through here. And then just kind of pulling this in a couple little spots in through here. And then just rubbing it out into that gray area. So it will make it look like it is kind of blending or merging in. I just put a tiny bit of water on my brush just so I can get this to blend out just a little bit, so I still have that white where I want it right in through here, but it gradually blends out into those neighboring areas, allowing for them to have highlights too, but not as bright as that one up right in that center area. And then just looks like it's getting a little bit in through there. I'm going to pick up just a touch of black paint because it looks like this little guy kind of wraps around in through here. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to, I feel I need another, just one little highlight on the tip of that nose. I'm going to go with that pink, white, and a touch of yellow. So it has a little bit more luminescent value. I'm going to just pop this on right in through here. I'm going to do the same thing over in through here and then just kind of blend it out a little bit. I feel like that needed just a tiny little more of a shine, but not too pink. So that looks pretty good to me. Now I'm going to move on to those eyes. The eyes are going to be, I'm going to pick up some of my gray plus black for this guy over here. Very subtle on the color to the eyes. So this is gray plus black. I'm just putting a little bit down in this bottom left-hand side, pulling up just a little bit in through here. That's a little bit too bright compared to the photo, so I just picked up a touch more black on my brush. I'm just leaving the pupil part evident, maybe just a little bit in through here. It's so subtle on this. Now I'm picking up just a touch of white and gray, give myself just a little pop of a highlight up and through there, and then over on this guy over here, I can use a little bit more gray in through here. This one's a little bit brighter than the other one. I'm not quite sure why. It's obviously something to do with the angle of the light. I'm picking up just a touch of black to make sure that I've got this blended the way that I want to. That looks pretty good. And again, I don't really need to do a whole heck of a lot to these guys because of the angle that it's at. I'll get rid of this chalk mark in a little bit, but right now I'm just gonna roll with it and let it happen. I'm gonna put a tiny bit of white on my brush. There's a little bright spot on this side of the eye, which is super cool. So I'm just gonna let it happen because I see it in the photo, and then there's a little twinkle up in through here. And that's a bigger twinkle than is in the photo, but I'm digging it. I like it, so in leaving it. You can also put a touch of brown. I'm picking actually up a little bit of brown to put in this eye. So I feel like I'm seeing a little bit of brown in the photo, so I just picked up a tiny bit of brown. You could certainly do that on the other one too, but this eye looks a little bit more bold. Like we can see more of the color on this eye than we can any of the other ones, so you could certainly fiddle with it as much as you want. I think I just need a little bit more black finessing in through here, and then we're going to be using our large brush for the next step. So once you've got these cute faces all nice and finished, you can, picking up a little gray, you can put this brush away, take out your large brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to do the first layer to the feathers. I'm using my large bristle brush. The colors I'm going to use are black, brown, gray, and white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in place all of the, I'll call it like the undertone to the fur. Obviously, feathers. I'll probably call the feathers fur too, sorry. We obviously have a base color to work from, but in the feathers themselves, they do have more texture to them and they've got more depth in the color. So I want to put in place, we've got some areas of black feathers, so I need to kind of start those colored sections, and then we'll build all of the little tiny feathers and highlights and stuff like that on top of them. So I'm going to start with a tiny bit of black paint on my brush. So when I say tiny, I mean tiny. I've got a little bit on the tip of my brush. You can even wipe it off on your paper towel or whatever, just so you have a very little bit on there. I'm going to start in this back area in through here. So as I'm doing this first layer, this is when I start to use a directional brush stroke. So there's a big section of black feathers in through here. So what I'm doing is I'm using that gray underbase as part of my feather making. I am definitely using it to my advantage, and I'm going to use the appearance of that color as part of this black section. It's pretty darn dark back in through here, so I can even rub that a little bit more. I'm going to pick up more paint, and I'm just going to kind of continue on this quest with the area of where I see these black feathers, so that's going to be in through here. And again, I'm not over painting it. So as I go through this process, if you do have too much paint on your brush, you might end up over painting, which is fine. That'll just mean that you've got a full black section to the feathers, and you can always layer more feathers on top of it with the lighter colors, but this just speeds up my process if I can control myself on each layer. So that's a good section down in through there. I just picked up a little bit more black because I feel it kind of comes, I'm looking at where the black goes in respect to the eye. So I see actually there's some kind of coming in through here. So I'm going to put a little bit in through there. There's some dark feathers in here, but they're not all the way black. So I'm going to, while I have the black on my brush, I'm going to go finish all the black sections, and then I'll come back to areas where they're dark, but they're not black. So I've got some coming behind this eye, which we already kind of started. And if you come to the face and you say, oh, that brush is just too big for me to work with on the face, by all means, just switch to the smaller bristle brush, and that'll do the same thing, but in a little bit more controlled fashion for you. There's a brownish section in through here, but I do see some little bits of black feathers kind of intermingled, and this little section of the front where the bill is kind of intermingles there too. This top part looks quite black to me. I'm going to put a little bit more paint on my brush. I'm going to actually pick up a tiny bit of water as well, so that way my paint will spread farther, and it'll be a little bit easier for me to get these little marks on here. So again, I'm kind of using the corner of my brush right now, and there's little fluffy pieces kind of coming out, so I can always start that now. There's going to be a big highlight in through here, but I still want to put some of those dark feathers underneath there just so we have them to work from. And there's some dark feathers back in through here. And again, this is now where you can start pulling out some of those cute little fluffy pieces. So something like this, I think that looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit darker in through here. There we go. On this guy over here, again, black with a little bit of water on my brush. There's not much on this one that I feel is black. So I'm gonna proceed with caution. There's this little mark here, which I didn't do earlier like I had done on the other one. So I'm just gonna kind of pop in a little darkness there. There's a touch underneath this area in through here, very little bit, just a little tiny touch that could be even brown, maybe not so black. A little tiny bit underneath here, and if you bump into the bill or whatever, you can certainly work or do little modifications. Ooh, there's some fluffy black little stuff at the top of the head. It looks so fluffy and cute. So we're just I'm almost kind of tapping it as opposed to pulling it too much. It looks more like little fluffy down feathers. And then just kind of merge it into that left. There we go. That looks pretty good. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to wash and... Oh, I have a little bit in the face here. I'm seeing a little bit in through here too. So don't want to miss it. If it's there, put it on, and you can always add little light stuff to it later. There we go. That looks good. Now I'm going to wash and dry my brush because the black is black, so I don't want to make everything super black. So I'm washing and drying my brush. Now I'm going to go into my gray plus a little bit of brown. So gray plus a touch of brown. I'm going to work on the other dark areas. So this is gray plus a touch of brown. And you might find, you're going through this and there's areas where you feel, I feel that there should be a little bit more black in that area. If you're seeing it and I'm not, then you could very well be right. I'm sometimes will not see everything I should be seeing, but that's going to be up to you if you want to, add additional colors elsewhere. I'm picking up a little bit more brown. I see some brown up in this area, up in through here, and then I'll just kind of put a little layer on that guy. This is going to be a lighter version of something, which I haven't decided yet what it's going to be. In through here, I'm going to have a lighter version in through there. I'm going to use this brown up in this forehead area as well. So a little bit of brown is on my brush. I didn't pick up any more gray that time, just brown. So brown, get it to intermingle with that black, and he's so cute. Maybe a little bit back here too. Why, he's so cute. All right, so I'm gonna go over here. So I think I'm just gonna pick up some of my brown right now on my dirty brush. So I see a lot of brown feathers back in through here, right behind this jaw. So I'm gonna just kind of tap in some up in through there, and then just kind of merge them down in through here. This gray this undertone is gonna be really good for these lighter feathers that we're gonna be doing. I just picked up some more brown to go in this section. There's like a shadow on the duck in through here, so this is where this darker stuff is coming from. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do under here, but I'm just putting brown right now. I'll probably put some additional tones underneath there. Actually, I'm going to pick up a touch of black on my dirty brush right now. I feel like I need just a teeny bit more little tones underneath this chin and through here. So on my dirty brush, I picked up a little bit of black just to get in through here. I might hit this with an even darker tone in a bit, but I just need to get this shadowy stuff under here without overdoing it, and then we can build those other layers. So again, I just picked up more brown, and I'm gonna put these guys in this direction without overdoing it, leaving and again, I don't know if I mentioned this, the duck is underwater partially, so this bottom part will all be taken care of with the water as we get to that. That's looking good. I'm going to pick up some more brown for the head in through here. So again, just brown on my brush in through here. For this area, we're going to have some light stuff on this forehead, but just layering on this brown to start. I'm going to put a little bit of this brown in through here as well, and I might pick up a touch more black for this area too, to give that little structure around there. I want a little bit in through here too, put a little bit of darkness in through there. I'm picking up a teeny bit of black, just a tiny bit on the tip of my brush, because I feel we need a little bit more darkness in through here. It's looking cute. And how about over here? I'm thinking that's pretty good. I was going to put more on the other side over here, but maybe just a little bit more up towards this eye. Yeah, that looks good. So now I want to do something in these light sections, but I don't want it to be so have these dark tones to it, the brown and the black. So I'm going to wash and dry my brush. And I'm going to go in with, I'm going to go just brown and white. So a tiny bit of brown and a tiny bit of white. So just a little tiny bit of both on my brush. And I'm going to just take it, and it needs a little bit more brown than that. And just pull it out in the areas that I feel are going to be the lightest of the feathers, so something like that works. Again, just brown plus a teeny tiny bit of white, and again, know that we will be we do have highlights and all kinds of other stuff, but this is how we kind of get the, or at least I do, kind of just get my sections down, where I'm going to want the light stuff, where I'm going to want the dark stuff. I got a little bit more light stuff on here and over in through here. These are little cheeks. We got light stuff coming over in through here, and you can start overlapping into the neighboring sections. This section is a little bit smoother looking though, so I'm just going to kind of rub that on in through there. And then I've got a little bit up in through here. I'm going to definitely have to switch to a smaller brush for all the small feathers on the head and stuff like that, but right now, again, just kind of getting these lighter areas in. So brown plus a tiny bit of white, and that's going to be this section over here. This section, it goes right underneath. We're actually seeing the other side of the duck is being illuminated a lot right underneath this this beak. So we're just gonna kind of tap that in and give just this nice light bright stuff in through here. And then once we've got this done, we're gonna switch to the small bristle brush. But let me just give a little bit of extra lightness stuff over here, and we're going to be changing or making part of the fur on the face is going to have a little bit different tone to it. The feathers on the face is going to have a little bit different tone to it as we build our way to the final details. But again, just kind of understanding where I wanted the light sections to go versus the dark sections. And this is, oops, and I just painted in the eye. That's okay. We'll take care of that. And I just, let me hit this little part on the head that's going to have a highlight too. So this is going to be this, this little section in through here. Just give myself that little idea of where that's going to go and where this is going to go. I think that's it. All right, I'm going to use my small bristle brush for the next step. So once you have this done, you can put the large bristle brush away, take out your small one, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're gonna do for the next step is we're gonna finish the feathers on the left duck, or just finish the left duck. I'm using my small bristle brush. I might use my large bristle brush as well at some point, but I think I'm gonna get away with just using this one. So what I'm really doing is I'm gonna do my final pass on the feathers, which is gonna include all the little tiny highlights, making sure I have, if I do have some shadowy areas, that I have them as deep as they should be going, or as dark as they should be going, and the light spots as light as they should be going. And I can also add my little fluffy tiny feathers along the edges. So I'm going to, before I start, I'm going to make myself a custom tan color, and I'm going to be using that as the dominant highlight color. So for this step, I'm going to be using black, brown, red, yellow, white, and maybe some of my gray. So I have pre-mixed myself my tan color, which is right here next to my white. How I got to that is brown, white, yellow, and red. So mostly brown and white. Oops, that's a little green on my brush now. Mostly brown and white is going to get me a really muted kind of tan, and then I just added a touch of yellow and a touch of red in it to bring just a nice rich tone to it, almost like a blonde color of hair. So that's going to be my tan color that I'm going to use. So once I've got that, now I can start kind of tackling this. I don't have a lot of work to go. I just have fine tuning. So I'm going to start with my dark areas. I'm going to pick up a little bit of black because I know that I want this area right underneath this chin to, or this cheek, to really be, you know, as dark as I can get it, and also to kind of fade into the underside of the chin. And then I'm going to just kind of make sure that I've got all of this kind of pulling out the way that I want it to. And these small bristle brushes are fabulous for just kind of moving that paint until it's dry. You can really just keep working it until you've got it in the position that you want, and until the paint is dry. I have a dark area down in through here that I just want to make sure that I get as dark as I want it. This is where I'm coming through and saying, okay, do you have enough darkness before you start adding those bright, you know, highlight tones to it? Do you have as dark as you want it? So again, I'm just kind of popping through, making sure I've got enough darkness. That looks pretty good. I definitely want some more right behind this eye. So just using my smaller brush is giving me more control than that larger brush did. So I can maneuver these little sections a little bit more. I can, you know, pull out little fluffy pieces a little bit better. So this just gives me a little bit more control with the paint itself. I've got the little area down in through here. There's a little section over here on the face. And, you know, it's a wild animal. I don't need it to be, you know, 100% exactly. Every piece of fur or feathers is exactly as it is in the photo. I can, you know, improvise a little bit. I can, you know, if I want there to be the marking to be a bit bigger or smaller, I can do that. I have the right to do that as the painter that I am. I've got some dark stuff there. There's a real big dark spot up in through here. These darker areas that I'm making sure I have are going to really elevate the contrast in the fur. So or feathers, gosh, my brain, I just really wish sometimes it would work all the way. So as you're building fur and feathers and stuff of that nature, they can very easily look flat if you don't have all of this contrast really executed. So just, you know, spend the time to make sure that you've got enough darkness in there before you start building your way to the light. And I've got a little bit of darkness in through there. I think that looks pretty good. So let's see, anything else? Maybe just a tiny bit up in through here. Looks pretty good to me. Maybe just a little bit there. Okay. So now that I've got that, I don't know if I want to wash my brush. I'm just going to wipe it off on my paper towel. I'm going to pick up some of my gray and make sure that I have just enough little tiny feathers in through here, just itty bitty bit. This is just making sure that it looks fully executed, that it doesn't, my big brush that I used earlier gave me bigger brush strokes. So if I want these little tiny feathers to appear, using this smaller brush is helping me to do that. So I'm just kind of using it to my advantage and allowing for myself to get these littler pieces. As I move over to the right, my gray is not going to be as visible on that other, this color in through here. So I'm going to start picking up a little bit of that tan along with my gray. So gray plus that custom tan, make sure I don't have too much on my brush, and start popping this in through this area. So you'll start to see how it's going to start to get lighter and lighter as I go over towards this right hand side. And again, the trick is just don't have a ton of paint on your brush, just a little dab will do you. And if the black, I feel like the black is a little overwhelming on my brush. Let me just see if I can tame it or get it under control. If the black is overwhelming on your brush and is not coming off or dissipating the way that you had anticipated it to, you can certainly wash your brush, which I might do, but I don't know, I might have controlled it before it got too out of hand. I see a couple of little bright pieces in through here. That looks pretty good. I see it's kind of more speckly in through here and then a little bit longer down at the base. So I'm just using directional brush strokes as I see it in the photo. That's how I'm trying to emulate it, because if it's a longer feather, if it's a feather that curves around the body, that's what's going to explain to the viewer the contour of the body and the type of feathers that it is. So that looks pretty good. I feel we're getting there. I'm wiping my brush off. I'm picking up a touch of brown paint just to give myself a little bit more underneath this chin in through here. I want to wash my brush now. So I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to hit this little area in through here, wash and dry my brush. I'm going to pick up some of that tan plus white on my brush. So tan plus white, and start this real bright area right underneath here. I forgot to go slow down right when I get to here, because I really want this to be pretty darn bright right underneath that chin, and it travels back right to about where the corner of the eye is. So that's where I'm bringing it to, and then I'm going to just pull this out. Oh, he's so cute. And just bring this, here's where I get to pull out these really fun little little duck feathers. And I want this to also blend in with this darker area, but the darker area is in the shadow. So you want it to look like they belong together, but they don't have to be a fully blended area, because this is represented as being a shadow. That looks pretty good. I'm going to use this tan on my brush to get some little fluffy pieces back in through here. So again, this is just tan on my dirty brush. I see a couple little bright pieces kind of coming off the photo, as if the back of the bird is being a little bit more illuminated. That looks pretty good. I'm going to pick up just a tiny bit more of that tan. I feel I've got a couple more bright pieces in through here that are just sprinkled in, just a itty bitty bit. I want to make sure that I've got those little pieces that are just sparkling in. Yeah, that's so cute. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the head, picking up a little bit more of my tan to go right on this forehead part, right in through here. And it's pretty darn bright in through here, so I'm going to bring quite a bit. And again, I'm using this brush with very little bit of paint, so I can see these individual pieces of fur. If I overload my brush, I'm not going to be able to detect that those pieces of fur. Up in through here, I'm going to put some of this tan, but I'm also in a minute going to I'm going to pick up tan plus white on my brush to start this little area up in through here, kind of transitions from here, and we've got, I'm pulling it out past the head right now. So this is where we're going to start to see these little cute, my favorite parts, these little tiny cute fluffy pieces in through here. We've got some right above the eye in through here. Oh, he's coming to life. He's coming to life before our very eyes. Just a little bit in through here, and just I've got some little straggly pieces. As you're doing these little straggly pieces, if you feel that you want to pull out a tinier brush to really get those to be evident, feel free to do so. And I'm not using full-on white right now because I want to put in a couple of tiny white pieces at the very end to give me just those extra little sparkly pieces. So what I do that a lot. I really try and refrain from using white or straight white until the very end. I'm not sure I dig that little piece. So that way, when I want to use the white and I want to get that real vibrant effect from it, I have the ability to do so. This looks pretty good. I feel I need a different color in through here. So what I've done, I'm going to take that tan and I'm going to add, I've already made a little bit over here. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow and brown to it. So it's going to turn it a little bit more on the yellowy side or the greenish side. So this was that tan, just add a little bit of yellow and brown to it. This is a little bit more in the shadow-ish, I think, so it's taken on a little bit different tone. So I've got this, and it's a little bit on the, we'll call it, I don't want to call it green, but it definitely has a little bit different of a hue to it. And being able to notice these little subtle nuances as you're building something that you want to be representational of a photo, it helps to, if you can train your eye to see these little color shifts from a regular tan to something that's got perhaps a little greenish hue to it, that's where you're going to start elevating your paintings into that more realistic type of a place. And I've got this color all around the eyes, and again, I'm not going white yet, but I'm adding this additional hue with this for lack of a better color name for a color, this yellowish greenish tan type of a color that I'm using, and I'm adding it on top of that gray, and I'll put an even brighter part of it in a minute, but this again is allowing for that color shift to occur and make it look a little bit more believable. So that looks good. I'm going to now pick up a tiny bit of white on my dirty brush so I can add just these little bright spots in this area in through here on my dirty brush, so it still has that little bit of that hue to it, but it is now just a tiny bit lighter of a tone. So I can just kind of keep adding those little bits and pieces with that custom greenish tan, and just keep elevating with little bit more white every time in order to give me these really bright areas that are speaking to the contour of each of these sections of the face or of the body. So that looks adorable to me. Let me just pull this down just a little bit more in through here, a little bit more near that eye. I'm going to pick up just a touch more white. I feel like we need just a little pop right in through there, maybe just a couple little pops in through there. I'm going to now start picking up more white in order to just get my real shiny spots around the animal. So I'm going to wash my brush. I'm washing my brush, and I'm going to pick up, I don't wash my brush very often, but I wanted to then. I'm picking up some white paint, and now this is where I can take just a itty bitty bit of white paint, make sure that I've got all areas as bright as I want them to be. So definitely little pops right underneath here. And again, not too much. I might have a little bit of something else on my brush, but that's all right. It's working, whatever it is. I can just bring this down just a little bit make sure I don't distort that beak too much, and just kind of keep picking up just a teeny tiny bit of white in order to get just these little special spots. So I see a little bit in through here. I'm going to pick up more white, trying to get some clean white here. There we go. I think I did it that time. And then just, this is where these little tiny pops of the white paint, because I've saved it for last, are going to just look like little shiny sparkly spots on the feathers. And you could of course bring, you know, little itty bitty ones out in through here, maybe just a teeny touch in through here, and then you just fiddle with it. Once you've got it all in place, you know, if you felt that you wanted more darkness down at the bottom, I just wipe my brush off. I'm picking up a tiny bit of black plus a little bit of water, and I can just put maybe a little bit more shadowy stuff right down in through here. So this is the time that we've got everything in place. Now you start fiddling and just finessing those little tiny pieces, you know, if you feel that they need any more work to them. And then we're going to be using this same brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can wash and dry this brush, if you can ever stop. Wash and dry this brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so we are going to be finishing the second duck, the right duck, our right duck, but I guess it's the left duck, really. I'm going to use my 1/4 inch bristle brush. The colors I'm going to use are the same as before. So I'm going to use black, gray, brown, and tan, white, and then that yellowy-ish tan color. So same colors, and I'll call them out as I use them. Again, I'm just going to start with my dark stuff, so a little bit of black paint, just make sure that I've got everything as dark as I want it to be. So a tiny bit of black paint on my brush, just giving me just maybe a little bit more in through here. Just make sure this little chinny chin, or this chinny chin chin, this beak bill is kind of outlined-ish. That'll make it pop out even more. I felt like it wasn't kind of visible enough, so that's another thing. You know, it all again goes back to contrast. If you can't see something, that might be because there's just not enough contrast to it. Even this little edge to the face in through here, or this part, I feel that needed to be a little bit darker. I want to put a little bit more up in through here, maybe not much, but maybe just pull it down just a little bit in that corner, maybe just a tiny bit behind here in order to get that head to pop out in front of the body. I feel like there's a couple little pieces of dark feathers in through here, so I'm just gonna put a little bit of my black in through there. And then up at the head, I feel like there's more than what I did initially, so I just picked up a little bit more black paint. I definitely, again, similar to what I did on the other bird, I just need to make sure that wherever I need it to be dark, it's as dark as it should be. So I may, in areas like in through here, I feel like I needed to add a little bit more. I didn't feel like the dark feathers were being represented as well as they needed to be. And then this, I feel like there should be a more defined edge in through here, so I'm just going to kind of rub down a little bit of darkness in through there and just get that to show up a little bit more. I feel there's a little bit more underneath this eye that should be accounted for. That's pretty good. We've got that. I've got a little line in through there that works. There's a little bit of darkness underneath this eye here too, but we've got some dark over there already. That looks pretty good. Looks like the side of the face is a little dark. So I think that looks pretty good for all of my darkness. Maybe a little bit more down at the where the body meets the water. This is more of kind of like a shadow to just make sure that that reads as kind of going into the water and has that shadow-esque nature. So I think that's pretty good. I am going to wash my brush because I don't feel I want to run the risk of carrying this color too much farther. So I'm gonna just wash my brush, and I'm gonna go into that gray plus my tan color, so gray plus tan, and I'm going to start adding lots of lightness, or lots of these feathers kind of coming in through here, kind of crossing over this shadowy area in through here, just a little bit, not much. I'll put the lighter stuff on over there, but I just kind of want to get this directional brush stroke in through here to kind of lay out these guys in through here. They're all just kind of going around the body, but in this area in through here, they come out into the light and they start poofing out a little bit more. So I'm going to just work my way towards there. Right now, again, I just have that tan plus a little bit of gray on my brush because this is pretty dark and in the shadows underneath this chin area in through here. And I'm not seeing a whole bunch of texture underneath here, so I might just kind of rub in a little bit of, I'm going to put a little bit of water on my brush and just kind of give my, just a little tiny hue of something in through here without putting too much paint, just a little tiny bit to show a tiny bit of texture, but I don't really need to do much. As I'm coming out in through here, I feel like it's going to start doing something funky on me. It's popping out towards the viewer, so I'm going to first get this long stuff in through here, and then we'll work on that confusing area, which is right in through here. It kind of starts right in through here. The feathers go this way, and then they're going to go that way. So it kind of pops out towards the viewer here, which you'll just see the little tips of it. I'm going to pick up just the tan right now, and a little bit of white, actually, tan and white, because I feel that these go pretty darn light in through here. So this is tan and white. Like this, they're coming out of the shadow. Right where I have this dark area here, this is where everything kind of emerges from the shadow. So I am making it really bright, and then it's gonna just kind of come out like this. I'm gonna put a tiny bit of water on my brush. I just put a little bit of water on my brush so I can get longer, more continual, more purposeful little brush strokes. There we go, that's looking pretty good. In through there, and then just bring this down. And again, I'm just trying hard not to overdo it because I put these layers on here for a reason. And if I come through with too much paint on my brush, which is so easy to do, then I kind of have to start back, you know, from square one if I paint over everything that I've done. So I'd rather just sit here and slowly layer it. I'm picking up some more of that tan plus white to come over to this left-hand side. So tan plus white, get right by this little beak in through here, really bright over on this side, and then this is fun little feathers kind of popping out. Oh, they're fun. They're just kind of popping out and being all kind of fluffy, like little baby duck feathers can be. And then just these little guys here. And again, I'm not using just white yet. I'm using my tan plus white. So again, I'm going to get this almost like a glow of sorts around this edge, and then I can pop the white on, and the white is going to give me that vibrancy, that brightness. So this light part comes, I would say, down right in through here. So this will be my light part on the outside of that duck. I've got my light part. It comes in further than what I did. I think it comes into about in through here. So let's put some more brightness on in through here, and then it kind of it gets a little bit in through here. I'm just kind of looking at these light pieces. There we go. That looks pretty good. And then we've got the shadow underneath. On this back area in through here, I'm going to go a little bit more of that tan, just pop it up in through here, just a little bit up in through here. And then on the face, I'm going tan right here. So just a little bit of that tan again. And just using the corner of my brush and pulling it in the direction that I see those little feathers are going. I try and match the direction and the length of those, be it feathers, fur, hair, whatever it is. That's my goal, is to try and emulate what direction they're going in and how long they are. If they're coming at the viewer, they might look super short. If they're, you know, long curly hair, it, you know, obviously could be long and have waves to it. But those are the little things I'm thinking of as I'm doing this. How long is these pieces of feathers? You know, what direction are they going in? And I try and just emulate what I'm seeing in that manner. I'm going to pick up my number 2 with water on it. I want to get rid of this chalk mark in through here because it's distracting me right now. So there we go. All distraction is gone. Still just picking up a little bit of that tan. I definitely need some right in through here. We got a little cheek kind of area in through here. I'm going to use some of that greenish, yellowy kind of color in a minute too, but just a little bit in through here. We've got it under the eye in through here, as well as over in through here. We've got a bright white or bright spot in through there, as well as right next to, oops, I just made that eye a little bit smaller, right next to the eye. And that's another thing. I mean, don't fear making mistakes. It's gonna happen, and it's part of the learning process in painting. That's how we learn. That's how I've learned. That's, you know, I've made a million what I refer to as mistakes in my day, and that's where I gain my most knowledge, because you don't always have a video right at the ready who's with somebody who's going to be like, oh yeah, you can do this and it'll be fixed. That's not always going to be the case. So as you're going through your process, you might find that, you know, you have to work through things on your own, and sometimes that's the best way to learn, is just figuring out what, I'm picking up a little bit of white, figuring out what is going to be your personal best method in order to get that effect that you're vying for, that you know, maybe you're looking for it to be fluffier, or you're looking for it to be lighter or shinier or darker, and you're not you can't find a video to show you how to do it. So this brightness that I'm putting right here is corresponding with this brightness on this chest. So I'm seeing it in the photo, and I'm understanding why it's doing that. So that's what I'm trying to emulate. I just picked up a little bit more white because I'm seeing a lot of it up in through here. So right now I'm kind of just tackling this bright spot on the duck. I'm going to put more brightness in through here right now too. So I'm picking up a little bit more white on my dirty brush, because I definitely feel there is some additional brightness in through here. And again, switching brushes and finding the brush that's right for you is pretty important. To just understanding what you like to use. I definitely love my bristle brushes and my flats and my bright brushes and my rounds, and I have my go-to brushes. And as you're going through your process, you might find that there's certain styles of brushes that just really work for you and get you those effects that you want. I'm picking up more white to get these little guys over in through here. I'll hit the head in a minute, but just kind of wanted to get this while I was thinking of it. So I'm really kind of working from dark to light, but on the head here, I feel like I kind of was a little all over the place, but still trying to just kind of work from dark to light. And then in through here, I've got some bright stuff on that head. I haven't gone into that yellowy goldish green one that we used over here. My tan was working out well right there, so I didn't have to go into that other tone yet, but if you felt that you wanted to, you certainly could. So right now I have white. Oh, I'm going to go white plus a little bit of my tan on the top of this head right now. I might go a little bit of gray too. I want it to maybe look a little silverier, but let's see if I can do it this way. And just, boy, it's so cute. These little tiny light stuff at the top of the head. And there's like these little flyaway little pieces. Ooh, this one's a fun one. Watch this. I love it when you just, like, I'm looking at the photos and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, look at that cute one. Let's do that. And you can just flick out these little tiny flyaway pieces. That's what's going to make them look oh so cute. That and the big eyes, the big childlike eyes always help to make it look super darn cute. So if you're, you know, going through your process and of making maybe your own design, I'm just picking up a little bit of white on my dirty brush, of making your own design, and you want to capture that super cute, you know, expression. If you make the eyes bigger, sometimes it's all you need to do. Just pop them out a little bit, make them, you know, maybe even a little tiny, unusual big, and that will definitely amp up the cuteness factor. So sometimes you don't need to do a whole heck of a lot to get a special effect. And I'm just kind of lightening this up in through here to speak to the contour of the head. I think I need just a little bit more. I'm picking up a tiny bit of tan on my dirty brush just to get some little speckles in through here. Gosh, I'm feeling like we're coming home. Like we're just about there on this little guy. He's so cute. I do need a little bit more lightness in through here, so I'm picking up a tiny bit of white on my dirty brush. Just get some little sparkly light things by this eye in through here. Maybe just a little tiny bit there. Ooh, I need a little bit more in through here too. I'm picking up more white for this. I feel like I might even need my smaller brush. Well, maybe not. I always think I'm gonna switch my brush, but I never do. So that looks pretty good. A little bit more lightness up in through here. And then this is the part, I'm reaching that part right now where I'm feeling, I'm just about there. I'll probably just kind of step back. I feel like it's pretty darn cute. I've got the lightness where I need it to be. I feel like I need to do something in through here. I'm going to wipe my brush off. I'm going to pick up a touch of my brown plus that yellowy gold color. I feel as if I need a little bit of a contour or something in through here, and just a little bit more feathers or something in through here. Sometimes you don't really need to do much, but if you're feeling like something is just, you know, flat, or it's not translating the way that you want it to, it might just be a little contour, or it might be a little, you know, shadow or something that needs to be added to get you into that place that is, again, visually appealing to you. That, I think, is looking adorable. I'm going a little bit of that golden, I want to make some lighter feathers in through there. I'm going to pick up a little bit of the tan. It might not be brown enough for me though. I'm going to pick up a little bit of brown too. So this is the tan and the brown. I feel like there's a little extra kind of brownish feathers in through here. So just a little bit of extra something in through there. And then I'm just going to fiddle with mine. I feel I'm pretty darn close. I'm picking up a little bit of brown and gray. Just get a little, and a little bit of black. Get a little bit darker down in through here. And then we're going to be using for the next step, I'm going to use this same brush, my small bristle brush, for the next step. So once you've got yours in an adorable place that you're happy with, you can wash and dry this brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what I'm going to be doing for the next step is I'm going to paint the reflections and all that little debris that's in the water. I think I'm going to be using both my 1/4 inch bristle and my number 2 round for this step. The colors that I'm going to be using are definitely my tan, white, gray, yellow, and I'm not sure what all their colors. I'll let you know. That might be it, but we'll paint as we go, and I'll call them out as I use them, but I'm thinking that that's it. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to do my reflections first. There's very minimal reflections in the photo, so I don't need to do much for the reflections, just a little hint of it. So I'm going to start with this guy over on the left. I'm going to pull in, I'm going to put on my brush a little bit of gray, tan, and white. So gray, tan, and white. I'm going to give the little bit of an illusion for this little chest part. It's so out of focus and so almost non-existent. I mean, it's just the little tiny hint of it in through here. I'm going to pick up a tiny bit more white paint. There's so much debris and stuff in the water that this is not a big part of the painting. I can't even in the picture see a reflection of the rest of the body. It's just kind of like this part here. So what I'm going to do, I just wipe my brush off. I'm going to pick up a little bit of my green oxide and a touch of white paint, because there is a little bit of lighter kind of pieces of the water in through here. So I just picked up green oxide and white on my dirty brush and just kind of giving myself a little extra hint of something in through here. Maybe my dark green too. I just picked up a little dark green. So I'm just kind of cleaning up at the bottom of where the bird is. I picked up just a little bit of dark green. So maybe there's a little tiny shadow or something right at the bottom of the bird, but again, not much. We're going to put some debris in there in a minute, but that's all I'm going to do for that reflection. That was fun. I'm going to now move over to this guy, and he's going to have a reflection that starts somewhere around in through here. So I guess I do have to wash my brush because I have a lot of green on there. I'm going to pick up, this is the tan color, so I'm going to pick up that to start. And it kind of blends in with the water a little bit. So I'm going to just rub it up in through here. I don't want it to necessarily look exactly like that. Actually, I am going to pick up some of my dark green. There we go. That's going to look better. So this is, I just picked up a little bit of the dark green in order to kind of mute this, because that's what I'm seeing in the photo. And then it kind of just squiggles down a little bit past this chest in through here. So just squiggling it down. And then in through the body here, I'm going to wipe my brush. I'm going to pick up some dark green. I want it to go make sure that it's pretty dark right as it's meeting the bird. So this is just to ensure, actually dark green plus a tiny bit of black too. So I didn't say I was using black. I just picked up black. So this way it ensures that I've got a dark area right at the base of that bird, and it looks like it's really right in that water. Make sure I get rid of all of my chalk marks. That looks pretty good. And it looks like I can just give myself the little faint illusion of some of these feathers in kind of an opposite direction. So if I see a dark feather in through here, I'm picking up just a little bit of brown. So I've got like a little dark feather. I've got a little dark feather in through here. I've got a little dark feather in through here. So I'm just kind of picking little spots where I see light and dark on the feathers up above, and that'll help steer me into doing just a real hint of a reflection. I'm picking up my tan plus a little bit of gray right now, and then let's see, we've got a little light bits in through here. Again, not much. There's hardly anything for me to kind of work from on the reflection in the photo. So just kind of like these little streaks. And if you wanted to make it really look like it's a reflection, I can take, let's say, a little bit of my tan and put a tiny bit up top and then say, oh, well, there's its reflection. But again, the reflection is so muted. I'm actually going to wash my brush, and I'm going to pick up some of my dark green and my light green, and just kind of put that in the mix with it. So it's really, I can't stress to you enough how subtle this little reflection is. So I'm just kind of giving just a little hint of it, and we're going to be putting, again, all the debris and stuff on top of it. So don't feel like you've got to get that anything really perfect. Maybe a little bit of the gray. I don't see it in the picture, so if I don't see it, I shouldn't do it. So I'm going to do that, and maybe a little bit more of the tan, just to maybe just get this just a little bit brighter in through here, so it can have a little bit of that reflection. And again, if the photo probably has it a little bit more than I do, but the photo also, the colors in the photo are a little bit different than what I have done. So it's all a wash. We're gonna roll with it like this, because I think it looks cute and I don't want to do too much more to it. So I'm going to start. Oh, I guess I'm just gonna play with this a little bit more. I'm going to do all my debris and stuff in the water. There's lots of, looks like leaves and stuff in through here. And then there's some out of focus little pieces. I want this to look different than the ducks, so I want to get maybe a little light yellow color going. I'm going to use my yellow. I'm going to use some of my dirty white, and then maybe a touch of red, just to give myself maybe like a light peachy type of a color. I need more white than that. And this will help me to just kind of add some little bits of leaves and debris. I might even put some little light blue ones, which would be cool, because they could be wet and shining with the atmosphere. So I just put a little bit of light yellow, and I'm going to put some large spots of what appears to be some debris and stuff in the water. So again, this is just that light yellow color, and you can have these looking really hyper realistic if you want, but it appears that all of the ones down here are out of focus to me, and that there's just a couple of little in focus ones in the middle, which tends to happen if you study photographs. The camera lens is going to focus on something, and in this case it is focused on the ducks. So that's like the center of the plane of the picture. So that's where the focal point is. Everything else is going to be out of focus. So as I'm adding these little marks of sorts and saying that they're debris in the water, I don't have to make them hyper realistic. I can just, if I see a light spot over here, I'm going to put a light spot. If I see a light spot there, I see a light spot here. I don't have to go full on tight detail to accomplish this, the appearance of this particular thing that I'm painting, because these are all out of focus in through here. There might even be a little ripple to the water that I'm seeing. So maybe I pick up a little bit of that light green plus a touch of white. So right now what I'm doing is I'm just kind of watching the photo and saying, okay, well, I see a little ripply kind of wave in through here. Maybe I can use my light blue with a little bit of water or white on my brush and get some movement in that water. I can even pull it over that reflection. I'm gonna put some of this light blue because I'm digging it and I'm thinking it's looking pretty good. I'm gonna put some additional kind of debris over maybe in this corner, and you can go gray, you can go light blue. I'll probably add a little bit of gray on top of it. There's a piece of debris somewhere in through here. There's some in through here. So you can have fun with, whatever you're imagining it to be. I'm leaving some spots of the green water in through there, so that will help to show that everything is in the water. I've got some light pieces up here that I want to incorporate, so I'm going to pick up a little bit more of that light yellow on my dirty brush. And these, again, past the beak are out of focus, so I can just rub in. So I've got a little area over here, and this kind of, I've got lots of stuff right up to this beak. So I'm watching kind of where they're placed in the photo. And again, you don't have to go one for one, but if you want something to look pretty similar, so there's a whole trail of them in through here. So I can just kind of, I went from the start and where does it finish? And then I can say, oh, okay, well, there's a big light area in through here. And that's how you can emulate that photo without, again, getting lost in those little tiny details. You can just use, there's a little one right above the beak. So I can find this beak and say, oh, here's one up in through here. So I can put one up in through here. There's these little dot ones right in through here. So I can take this. I'm probably going to switch to that smaller brush in a minute, just so I can get a little bit of detail on these ones that I feel would be in the focal point, which is right by that beak. So there's lots of little tiny ones in through here. There's another one right somewhere in through here, and a whole bunch of little ones as we go like this. So these are going to be more in focus, so I'm probably going to bust out my small brush for that, but I'm thinking that that looks pretty good in through there. I feel like there's a little bit of like orangey kind of debris right at the bottom of here. So I've got my dirty brush. I'm actually going to go, I'm going to pick up a little bit of tiny bit of yellow and red on my dirty brush and just kind of wipe it off on my paper towel. I feel like there's maybe a little bit more red than that. There's a little kind of stuff in through here. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to just put some stuff down there. And again, just, you know, finding little color patterns. I just picked up a little bit more yellow and just kind of allowing for the freedom of, you know, those little mark making to happen. I'm going to switch to my smaller brush so I can get a little bit more detail in these guys. Up in through here, I'm going to pick up a little bit of white and that light blue. So white and a tiny bit of light blue, just kind of popping in a couple little additional marks up in through here and rubbing them with my finger. Something in through here. There's little, so this beak is popping out great with these little pieces of debris, which again, it wouldn't have popped out as well if I didn't place these little pieces of debris where I'm seeing them in the photograph. You know, so those are the little things. I'm switching back and forth now between my light yellow, light blue, white. I might even pull in some of that little orangey tone, but just having fun. I might even use a little bit of the green if I feel that I want to add even more. There's a bunch of little tiny pieces of debris in through here. I just don't want it to look too systematic. So I need to pull in, I just pulled in some white. I need to pull in different colors in order to make it not look too systematic. And I'm finding those colors in the photo. So I don't need to go very far to figure out, you know, what colors to use. I just watching that photo. I'm using a dirty brush, so that's the dirty brush is allowing for me to, oh, I missed this whole big spot over here. The dirty brush is allowing for me to get these colors to really talk together and get them to maybe look like they're reflecting off of one another, or they've got, you know, similar characteristics to it. So don't be afraid to, you know, use a dirty brush. Use maybe a color that you're not seeing in the photograph. You can always improvise. You can always add your own spin to it. I think that's one of the funnest things about painting, especially when you're using something as your inspiration, like a photograph. Exploring different options, allowing yourself to be carefree with adding a different color, or, you know, maybe you want to put a hat on one of these ducks, or, you know, like I feel I need a little bit more brightness in through here. So you just start exploring those options and making it your own, and if you can in some way find your rhythm, find your again, I keep flipping back and forth between my light yellow, my light blue, white. I I think those are the dominant colors I'm flipping back and forth for. But if you can find your own style and rhythm in a gradual or in a slow way by learning the fundamentals of painting, understanding your contrasts and your highlights and your perspectives and your design elements and all those good things that make for the illusion to happen, the illusion that you're trying to go for. If you can find your way in a gradual way. So use things as your inspiration, like photographs, and then as you're developing and learning these skills, you can start morphing those photos or those references into your own thing, into your own paintings. I'm gonna play with these little debris the whole time. I keep talking and painting debris, but I think I'm pretty all set with these debris. Maybe one more little one right in through here. But you know, again, just enjoy the process. That's why I paint. I paint to you know, have my own therapy sessions. So you can certainly do the same thing on your end. But you know, fiddle with this as much as you want. The next step is going to be with our small brush. So you can just, the small round, so you can just wash it and dry it if you can ever stop making little debris, and get ready for the next step. All right, so we are on to the final step. This is the final step of every painting, which is to sign it. So I typically sign mine in the lower left or the lower right. I'm going lower left on this one. I'm using my small number 2 round. I'm going lower left with my, I'm gonna go black. Just go black. Sometimes when you don't know what to do, just use black. I like to sign mine with my initials. You could certainly sign yours with your first name or the date or a symbol. Whatever you want for your identifying mark to be is up to you, because it's your painting and you get to sign it however you'd like. And that's going to conclude this painting. I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you painted yourself a couple of adorable little ducks. I look forward to painting and sipping with you again sometime.